When trucks came to a standstill at the border and helicopters filled the sky, most people assumed it was just another political moment. Another show of toughness, another border crackdown, another exchange of carefully chosen words between Washington and Ottawa. That assumption was the mistake, because if that's all you saw, you missed what truly matters here and what this moment reveals about power inside the North American economy. If this kind of breakdown helps you see the bigger picture, subscribe to AFK News, hit like, share the video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We want to see how far this conversation is reaching. I'm Elizabeth, a professor at UC Berkeley. I study power, who holds it, and how it's used. Today on AFK News, I want to explain what's really happening here, who benefits, who pays the price, and why this story has very little to do with drugs, security, or political personalities. What we're witnessing is the deliberate exposure of a fragile economic system, one designed to appear efficient only as long as no one seriously tests it. On the surface, the move looked simple. Canada instructed its border agency to manually inspect every commercial truck entering from the United States. Every pallet, every container, every box and bolt. At the same time, visible enforcement increased, including aerial patrols. The public explanation focused on border integrity and security. But the deeper message was unmistakable. If the United States claims Canada is a weak link in controlling illicit flows, Canada would remove all doubt by inspecting everything, and in doing so, reveal how vulnerable the system truly is. It sounds procedural, almost boring, but that's exactly why it's powerful. Modern North American trade is not built to tolerate friction. It's built for speed. Cross-border production assumes trucks move almost constantly without interruption. Auto plants don't stockpile weeks of parts. Food distributors don't hold months of inventory. Everything arrives just in time because storage costs money and cuts into profits. Introduce even a short pause into that system, and it doesn't adapt. It breaks. This is where the economic lesson begins. For decades, corporations pushed for open borders for goods, minimal inspections, and ever faster customs processing. Not because it benefited workers or communities, but because it maximized returns on capital. Governments on both sides largely went along, quietly reshaping public institutions to serve private logistical efficiency instead of public resilience. Border agencies shifted from being trade regulators to trade facilitators. Now, the same political forces that once demanded frictionless trade are condemning that system as unsafe. Canada's response wasn't rhetorical, it was structural. If this is what a hard border is supposed to look like, this is what it actually means. The consequences were immediate and predictable. Trucks backed up, drivers waited unpaid, factories slowed, perishable goods spoiled. Assembly lines stalled because a single missing component can shut everything down. And notice who bears the cost first. Not the executives who champion tariffs, not shareholders protected by diversified portfolios. It's workers, logistics contractors, small suppliers, and consumers paying through lost hours, higher prices, and growing instability. Media coverage often misses this part. The focus stays on spectacle. Long lines of trucks, helicopters overhead, stories framed as toughness and retaliation. What rarely gets asked is why the system was so fragile to begin with. Why an economy that constantly claims to be resilient cannot handle inspections that were once routine. The answer lies in incentives. When profit maximization becomes the organizing principle of trade policy, redundancy disappears, margins shrink, and public capacity is hollowed out. Everything is optimized for speed, not safety, stability, or resilience. What you're seeing at the border isn't just congestion, it's leverage. Canada is making visible what usually remains hidden, that the movement of goods is a form of power, and that control over infrastructure, procedures, and enforcement can matter as much as tariffs or treaties. When one side weaponizes trade rhetoric, the other can weaponize the mechanics of trade itself. That should be unsettling, not because sovereignty is wrong, but because it exposes how vulnerable ordinary people are to decisions made far above them. When leaders make gestures, workers sit in traffic all day. When supply chains freeze, families pay through higher prices and shortages. When systems built for profit are stressed, social stability cracks first. So don't just ask who blinked or who looks strong. Ask why an economy this large can't handle basic inspections. Ask who designed it this way and who benefits from keeping it fragile. Once you see that pattern here, you'll start noticing it everywhere. This isn't just a border story. It's a lesson about power, accountability, and the choices that shape our economic lives. And here on AFK News, that's exactly the conversation we aim to have.